They seem to happen when we least expect them, and when they do, they seem to happen to anyone other than us. Many times we hear about them taking place in faraway lands, almost on the peripheries of existence. But is it possible that in the Med City, a real miracle from above could take place? One Rochester priest says it can, and he says it happened to him.
Meet Monsignor Gerald Mann, or Father Jerry, as he's known by his congregation at St. John the Evangelist Catholic Church. Ordained a priest in 1971, Father Mann says his priesthood for the first 28 years was a rewarding experience. It was also about learning how to balance being a priest and a leader.
I knew Christ and lived the priesthood more from a position of doing well, but more of a dogma approach in contrast to an encounter and a relationship with Christ.
Everything seemed to be just fine with Mann. He had been working in Winona at the seminary and then was made pastor of St. John's in Rochester in 1995. Then, in 1999, Mann came face to face with his own mortality. Father Jerry went to the Mayo Clinic for a regular checkup, and during the exam, one test led to another and then to another. Soon the Monsignor heard the news that so many Americans dread hearing.
When they did some testing, they discovered, and they said we wanted to go further and do this biopsy, in which they determined I did have cancer.
Mann's doctors told him they would wait 6 weeks to analyze the biopsy. They would then determine whether they would go forward with treatment or surgery. In between time, Mann flew to Italy. While there, Father Mann met Monsignor Luigi Giussani, founder of the Communion and Liberation movement in the Catholic Church. Giussani, who since childhood had been in fragile health, had developed Parkinson's disease before Mann came and met him.
He had a big affection for San Riccardo Pampuri, and so they said, let's go and pray for his health, for his well-being. And while I was there, a friend who knew about my cancer, we really begged Riccardo for my healing.
While flying home, Mann says he was suddenly overcome by a great certainty that he no longer had cancer. After returning to Rochester, Father Mann says he felt that he had nothing to worry about.
I came home and I waited a while, and actually a doctor, a physician called me from the clinic saying you were supposed to be here some time ago. It wasn't that I was attempting to be stupid or to be irreverent about my disease.
Before going ahead with any treatment, Mann's doctor decided to take one more biopsy and have it analyzed. Father Jerry said he hadn't expressed his conviction to his doctor, but complied nonetheless and had the biopsy done. What happened next, Mann describes as miraculous.
The report came back, and he said, everything is completely normal. And it was beautiful, because I said to him, and doctor, what do you have to say about that? And he said, that's your department.
After hearing about Mann's story, a friend of Father Giussani contacted the Italian priest and told him of Mann's healing. Upon hearing the news, Father Giussani asked Mann if he would accept a statue of St. Riccardo that would dwell in the church. Mann said yes.
But you were reluctant at first to tell everybody why.
Quite frankly, I was afraid. I was afraid. We have a marvelous faith community here, and it's filled with scientists and medical people. So I was reluctant because I thought maybe they would attempt to second-guess what happened to me.
But that's not the only amazing encounter that Mann says he's experienced over his last 20 years as pastor. Father Lugala Lazuba, or Father John as he's known by parishioners, is, according to the Monsignor, a mini-miracle in and of himself. Father Jerry helped to get Lazuba to Rochester, thereby preventing his deportation back to his war-torn homeland of South Sudan, which Lazuba says he will always be grateful for. But what about that alleged miracle? What does a fellow priest think about that?
Even me as a priest, sometimes I find it difficult, to understand it.
But it can't
because it's a miracle. It's a miracle by the name itself,
A lot of people are going to see this and think, misdiagnosis or coincidence. What would you say to that?
I'm not on a mission to defend what happened to me. Christ is in every circumstance. It is very evident. I see the signs, and I have the experience.
Father Jerry says that St. Riccardo Pampuri will always have a special place in his heart, and in fact, that statue which you saw is on full display at St. John's. My thanks to Father Jerry and Father John for sharing their witness and this mystery of faith.